The galaxy had seen many strange unions, but none as unlikely as the promise made between the Terran Union and the Varathi Dominion. On opposite sides of the Orion Spur, these two civilizations had spent decades watching each other with caution. They were not open enemies, but neither were they friends. Every encounter, whether political or military, carried a thin layer of tension like the hum of a tightly drawn string that might snap at any moment. For years, humanity had advanced faster than the old powers expected, while the Varathi Dominion prided itself on thousands of years of tradition, discipline, and hierarchy. Humans had risen from a single small world and carved a place among the stars in only a few centuries. The Dominion respected their growth, but feared it too. So when the Terran Union proposed a long-term peace treaty, the Dominion agreed, but not without adding a clause that shocked both sides. Their princess, Kayla Varathi, would be promised to a human. Princess Kayla was the daughter of High Warlord Sarath Varathi, ruler of the Dominion. She was trained from childhood to lead soldiers, command fleets, and maintain order within their proud empire. She had never imagined being offered like a political symbol. Varathi culture valued tradition, and old treaties sometimes included symbolic pairings, but never with a species as young and unpredictable as humans. Kayla stood inside the grand hall of the Dominion Citadel, wearing ceremonial armor, polished to silver blue shine. Her sharp eyes stayed fixed on the message hovering above the center of the room, a formal agreement sent from the Terran Union, confirming the alliance and the arranged union with a human representative. Her father watched her carefully. His face was carved from stone, firm and unreadable. The High Warlord rarely revealed his emotions. Even now, as the future of two species rested on his daughter's shoulders, he stood silent. "You disapprove," Sarath finally said. Kayla kept her voice controlled. "I follow your command, father. I follow the Dominion. But I do not understand why I must be tied to a human." "Peace requires sacrifice," he replied. "We show strength by offering trust. And they show their strength by accepting our trust." Kayla did not argue. But inside, she felt unsettled. Humans confused her. They were too emotional, too curious, too quick to act without considering consequences. And they were unpredictable. In Varathi culture, predictability was strength, discipline was survival. But humans ran toward danger like it was a puzzle they wanted to solve. Still, the decision was made. The treaty was signed. And Kayla would honor the duty given to her. As she left the grand hall, soldiers saluted her. Servants lowered their heads. Everyone recognized the weight she carried. But no one dared question it. Royal duty was absolute. Kayla walked through the balcony overlooking the capital city of Veron Prime. Long towers spiraled toward the sky, laced with glowing silver paths. Ships flew between the spires like streaks of light. The Dominion was old, powerful, and unshakable. It had shaped her entire life. She had never thought she would be asked to join it with a species the Dominion barely understood. She whispered to herself, "A human? Why must it be a human?" Across the galaxy, on the human side, another figure prepared for the same meeting, a man who did not yet know how his life was about to change. Commander Adrian Holt stood in front of the long mirror inside the Terran Diplomatic Center. His suit was newly pressed, dark navy with silver trimming along the cuffs. It was the formal uniform of high-ranking envoys, the kind worn only for special events. Adrian had faced dangerous missions before: evacuations, border negotiations, pirate conflicts, but never something like this. He was about to meet the princess of an alien empire. Not for battle, not for debate, but for something far more delicate. An arranged union meant to symbolize peace. He checked his reflection again. A faint scar ran across his jawline, a reminder of an old operation near the Cygnus cloud. His hair was short, neatly trimmed. His expression, however, was unsure. Behind him, Ambassador Rhea Callister entered the room. She was older, calm, and wise, a mentor to many young diplomats. "You look like you're about to face a firing squad," she said with a gentle smile. Adrian laughed awkwardly. "I'm just thinking about everything that could go wrong." "Don't," she said. Think about why this matters. The Dominion trusts us enough to offer something deeply symbolic. You represent all of humanity today. Show them we are worthy of that trust. I'll try my best, Adrian replied. No, she corrected softly. You will do your best. That is why you were chosen. Adrian nodded. He had always tried to do the right thing. Humans sometimes acted with emotion, yes. But emotion gave them courage too. Still, carrying the weight of the treaty felt heavy on his shoulders. He stepped out into the shuttle bay. A sleek silver diplomatic vessel waited for him. Its engines were already warm, ready for departure. As he boarded, he exhaled slowly, trying to steady his nerves. This is bigger than me, he whispered. Bigger than anything I've done. He settled into his seat, and the ship launched into the stars. While Adrian traveled across warp space, Princess Kayla prepared to leave her homeworld. She stood in her private chamber, packing the few belongings she was permitted to bring. Most of her luggage consisted of ceremonial items, traditional relics, and a single handheld blade given to her by her mother long ago. A soft chime sounded at her door. Her personal guard captain, Lyra Thane, entered. You will not travel alone, Lyra said, bowing respectfully. I will remain by your side through the entire negotiation. And after. Kayla appreciated her loyalty. Lyra was one of the few people she trusted completely. Thank you, Kayla said. I may need your strength. Lyra paused. Are you afraid? Kayla considered the question. She was trained never to admit fear. But today, she felt something new, something she could not easily name. Not afraid, Kayla answered slowly. Uncertain. The Dominion will stand with you, Lyra said. And if this human proves unworthy, we will know. Kayla nodded. It is not my place to judge his worth. I only hope he understands the weight of this bond. Hours later, as the stars shifted outside their vessels, both Kayla and Adrian approached the same destination. Helios Arc, the most important neutral station in the region. Built with Terran technology but managed by multiple species, Helios Arc stood as a symbol of cooperation, a perfect place for a historic meeting. Kayla's cruiser arrived first, gliding into the docking sector reserved for royal delegations. Dominion banners shimmered over the landing platform. Soldiers stood in perfect formation. Kayla stepped out with quiet grace, her posture strong, her expression calm. A few hours later, Adrian's diplomatic vessel approached the station. Human envoys waited to greet him. Cameras floated nearby, eager to capture his first steps. Two worlds were about to meet. Two cultures were about to collide. Two strangers were about to change the future of the galaxy. Adrian stepped onto the station with steady steps. Kayla watched him from across the hall, hidden behind a line of her guards. And in that first moment, before either spoke, before any ceremony began, something shifted in the air. Not tension, but possibility. Kayla studied him with sharp, calculating eyes. Adrian felt the weight of her gaze and stood straighter. Neither knew what the other expected. Neither knew what fate had planned. But both felt the same truth. Everything was about to change. The Helios Arc station was usually quiet, with soft lighting, gentle music, and peaceful travelers moving through its large open halls. But on this day, everything felt different. Every corridor was filled with officers, diplomats, and security teams. Floating cameras drifted like small silver insects, capturing every angle for the galaxy to watch. The meeting between Princess Kayla Varathi and Commander Adrian Holt would mark the first direct union between the two species. To both the Terran Union and the Varathi Dominion, this event was more than a formality. It was a test of trust, respect, and intention. Kayla stood at the center of the grand hall, her armor shimmering under the soft station lights. Her posture was straight, her expression calm, but inside she felt a quiet storm. She had faced battle drills, military strategy examinations, and imperial ceremonies. Yet none of those had prepared her for this moment, the first face-to-face meeting with the human she was promised to. Across the hall, Adrian walked with a steady pace, surrounded by human diplomats but standing slightly ahead of them. His uniform was crisp, but there was a hint of nerves beneath his calm smile. He felt hundreds of eyes on him. More importantly, he felt Kayla's sharp gaze weighing him from afar. When they finally stopped a few steps apart, the hall fell silent. Kayla studied him carefully. He looked different from Varathi nobles, no ceremonial armor, no gemstone insignias, no heavy cloak. Humans kept things simple. His uniform was clean, neat, and practical. His posture held discipline, but not rigidity, and his expression carried something she rarely saw in her people: open sincerity. Adrian bowed slightly. "Princess Kayla Varathi, it is an honor to meet you." Kayla inclined her head, keeping her voice balanced. "Commander Adrian Holt, the Dominion acknowledges your presence." It was not warm, not cold, just formal, dignified. But before anyone could speak further, a sudden, sharp explosion shook the station. The floor vibrated, lights flickered, alarms blared, diplomats gasped. Guards raised weapons. The floating cameras darted back in alarm. Kayla instantly shifted into combat readiness. Adrian stepped forward, his eyes scanning the ceiling as smoke drifted from a blown panel. "What was that?" he asked sharply. One of the Terran guards checked his wrist console. "Unknown impact. Something hit the outer hull." Another explosion thundered from the opposite side of the hall, closer, stronger. The blast doors shuddered as sparks rained from the ceiling. People panicked. Some ran, others crouched behind pillars. Kayla reacted without hesitation. "Form a defensive line." K. Her guards moved instantly, forming a half-circle around her. Adrian turned to his security team. "Evacuate the civilians. Keep them moving." But before the guards could guide people away, the lights cut off entirely. For 2 seconds, the hall fell into pitch black. Then dim emergency lights flickered on, and the attackers arrived. Figures in dark armor burst through the damaged blast doors. They wore no official insignia, only masks with glowing red visors. They moved with precision, spreading out quickly and firing stun rounds that crackled with blue light. One shot hit the floor near Adrian's foot. Another struck a pillar behind Kayla. "These are not Dominion soldiers," Kayla said sharply. "Not ours either," Adrian added. "Who are they?" The attackers kept advancing, forcing both groups, Terran and Varathi, to take cover behind the hall's metal columns. "Princess, we need to retreat," Lyra shouted, blocking another stun round with her arm shield. Adrian ducked behind a fallen display board. "We need a safe corridor," but every exit was blocked by hostile soldiers. Kayla looked toward Adrian. Their eyes met through the chaos. For a moment, neither spoke, but both understood one thing clearly. They could not stay in this hall. Adrian made the first move. He dashed toward the nearest emergency door, crouching behind furniture, dodging stun blasts. "This way. There should be a maintenance tunnel behind this side panel." Kayla hesitated for only a heartbeat. Trusting a human wasn't easy, but staying meant capture or worse. She signaled her guards. "With me." Together, they sprinted toward Adrian's direction, using fallen debris for cover. Stun rounds zipped past them like streaks of lightning. Adrian reached the panel and pried it open. It revealed a narrow metal passage with ladders and dim lights, perfect for an emergency escape. "Hurry," he said. Kayla climbed in first, followed by her guards. Adrian jumped in last and sealed the panel behind them. Inside the small tunnel, the sounds of battle echoed faintly from outside. Muffled, distant, but constant. The passage smelled of metal and coolant. Pipes ran along the walls, humming with energy. Adrian tapped the emergency console built into the tunnel wall. "This should connect us to the engineering deck. From there, we can reach the command center." Kayla crossed her arms. "You act quickly for someone caught in a diplomatic ambush." Adrian gave a small, nervous smile. "Humans are good at improvising." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Improvising is chaos. Sometimes chaos saves lives," he replied calmly. Lyra looked between them. "This is not the time for debate. We must move." They began walking through the tunnel, footsteps echoing softly. The passage twisted and turned, forcing them to move in a single line. After several long minutes, Adrian spoke again. quieter this time. Princess, those attackers weren't mine. And they weren't yours. Someone wants this treaty to fail, Kayla responded without looking at him. Agreed. Human extremists? He asked. Varathi extremists? She countered. Both fell silent. Whoever had attacked, they had planned this moment carefully. They had struck at the exact time the union ceremony was supposed to start. And they had targeted the hall where the two leaders would meet. Someone in the galaxy did not want peace. They reached the end of the tunnel, where a ladder led up to another hatch. Adrian climbed first and checked the area. He whispered down, "Clear. Come up." Kayla followed, emerging into a dark control room filled with silent consoles and large observation windows. The view showed a section of the station's exterior, and it was worse than they feared. A small, unidentified ship clung to the hull like a parasite. Drilling into the station, Kayla frowned. That is how the attackers entered. Adrian nodded. It's a boarding craft. Before they could speak further, the door to the room hissed open. Another squad of masked attackers stormed in. Kayla reacted instantly, pulling her small ceremonial blade. Adrian grabbed a heavy metal rod lying beside a console, improvised, but effective. "Back!" Lyra shouted, taking position beside Kayla. The attackers rushed forward. Kayla moved with precision. Her blade struck one attacker's arm, disarming him. Adrian swung the metal rod, knocking another off balance. Lyra protected their flank with well-practiced strikes. The attackers were skilled, but they didn't expect strong resistance. Within moments, two were unconscious, and the rest retreated out the door. Kayla lowered her blade slowly. She looked at Adrian, who still held the bent metal rod, breathing hard. "You fought without hesitation," she said. He gave a faint smile. "Couldn't let you handle everything alone." Something new flickered in her expression, surprise. Not weakness, not recklessness, courage, raw, sincere courage. It did not fit the Dominion's usual view of humans, and Kayla felt something shift inside her, the first crack in the wall she had built between their kinds. Adrian looked back at her. "We need to get to the station's command center. If we can send a signal to both governments, they'll know we're alive." Kayla nodded. "Then we move. Together." For the first time since the chaos began, they moved as one unit, not Terran, not Varathi, but two leaders facing a threat neither expected. And as they stepped through the dark corridors of the station, one truth grew clearer. Their first meeting had not brought peace. It had brought war. Yet in the heart of danger, something new had begun to form between them, something that could change the fate of entire empires. The corridors of Helios Arc were colder than Adrian expected. Dim emergency lights glowed along the walls, turning everything into shifting shadows. The station hummed with distant pressure locks and warning alarms. But no voices, no footsteps, no movement except their own. Princess Kayla led the group with silent confidence, her ceremonial blade drawn and ready. Adrian stayed close behind her, holding a discarded stun baton he had found on the floor, lighter and easier to use than the metal rod from before. Lyra walked at Kayla's side, scanning every door and corner with sharp eyes. "This part of the station should be busy," Adrian whispered. "Engineers, officers, someone." Kayla nodded slowly. "The attackers have cleared these areas. They want control. They're organized," Lyra added. "This is not a random act," Adrian agreed. "No. This was planned." They moved through a long bridge that connected two sections of the station. Through the transparent walls, stars shone against the vast darkness. Glowing sparks drifted outside from the damaged hull, drifting like strange fireflies. Kayla paused to observe them. The attackers must have used multiple breaching points. Adrian stepped beside her. "They want to isolate us. Keep the station from sending signals." "They feared the treaty," Kayla said quietly. "Feared what our union symbolizes." Adrian glanced at her. "Do you think they're Dominion extremists?" Kayla didn't answer immediately. She looked straight ahead, her voice calm but firm. "I think fear creates enemies on both sides. Some fear change, some fear equality. Some fear losing control. That's true for humans too," Adrian admitted. Their eyes met for a brief moment, no hostility, no distrust. only a shared understanding. In the middle of a crisis, neither was thinking about titles or obligations. They were two people forced to rely on each other to survive. Lyra interrupted the silence. The command center is 3 sectors ahead, but the attackers will expect us to go there. Kayla nodded. Yes, but if we do not reach it, our governments will assume we are dead. Adrian exhaled slowly. Then we have no choice. They moved deeper into the station. The air felt heavy from smoke. A layer of dust drifted from the ceiling with each tremor. Somewhere far away, a deep explosion echoed again, another part of the station under attack. Adrian touched the side of his ear. Comms still dead? Kayla checked her wrist console. Yes. Local signals are jammed. Lyra's expression grew sharper. Princess, this means they control the signal towers. Adrian frowned. Can we reach them? Kayla shook her head. Too far. And too exposed. Their path finally led to a wide service corridor lined with large storage crates and broken maintenance tools. A faint smell of burnt circuits drifted through the air. As they crossed the corridor, Adrian suddenly raised his hand. Wait. Kayla stopped instantly. Lyra adjusted her stance. Adrian pointed at the ground. There were fresh footprints in the dust. Not theirs. Multiple sets. Heavy boots. Rushed movements. Kayla crouched down, examining the prints. Several attackers, recently passed. Lyra ran her hand along the wall and found a warm metal panel. They tried to override something here. Kayla came closer and touched the panel. This is a ventilation override. Why would they? A sudden loud clang echoed above them. All 3 looked up. The ventilation grate shook, and then, with a screech of metal, it burst open. 3 masked attackers dropped down, landing with smooth precision. Kayla reacted instantly. She swung her blade in a sharp arc, blocking the first attack. Lyra rushed forward, shielding Kayla's flank. Adrian stepped back, raising the stun baton. The attackers moved in, coordinated formation, silent, precise, deadly. Kayla struck first. Her blade clashed against one attacker's weapon, sending sparks flying. She pushed him back. Her movements sharp and controlled. Another attacker lunged at Adrian. Adrian ducked, rolled to one side, and hit the attacker's leg with the baton. The man stumbled, giving Adrian just enough time to deliver a second strike and knock him to the ground. Lyra fought the third attacker, her arm shield absorbing several blows before she forced him into a corner with strong, aggressive strikes. But more attackers dropped from the ventilation shaft too, then 3 more. Adrian's heart pounded. There's too many. Kayla gritted her teeth. We must retreat. We must retreat. Adrian grabbed a crate and shoved it toward the attackers, slowing them down. Kayla slashed through a stun bolt aimed at her chest. Lyra held the line, protecting them with fierce precision. Finally, Kayla shouted, back through the corridor. Now! Adrian didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the far end, Kayla and Lyra right behind him. They slid into a narrow side passage and sealed the door manually. The attackers slammed against the other side, but the heavy maintenance door held. Adrian leaned against the wall, catching his breath. They knew we were coming. Kayla exhaled slowly. They are tracking us. Or, they have a map of the station. Lyra checked her arm console. Princess, this maintenance passage leads to the engineering deck. Adrian's eyes widened. Then we can stabilize the station systems. Maybe even send a hardline signal. Kayla nodded firmly. Then we go there. The engineering deck was massive, filled with tall energy pillars, coolant tanks, and humming machinery. Emergency lights blinked red across the high ceiling, reflecting off metal floors. But it was empty. Too empty. Adrian frowned. Where is everyone? Kayla walked forward slowly. Either evacuated or captured. Lyra scanned the deck. Or worse. Adrian stepped toward a large console. If I can bypass the lockout, I might reach the communication relay. Kayla watched him carefully. Can you do it? I can try, Adrian said, rolling up his sleeves. It's old Terran tech. I know how it works. Kayla stepped closer, lowering her voice. You risk exposing yourself. Adrian looked at her. We're all risking something. Kayla didn't reply, but a faint softness entered her eyes. Adrian plugged a small tool into the console. Lights flickered. A low hum vibrated under his hands. It's damaged, he muttered, but not beyond repair. Kayla and Lyra stood guard while Adrian worked. Sparks flashed as he connected wires and rerouted power. His fingers moved quickly, confidently, even though sweat dripped from his forehead. Finally, the console beeped. I have partial access, he said. Let me try the communication relay. He typed a sequence. The screen flickered. Then, a message appeared. Unauthorized override. Signal jam active. Adrian's eyes widened. Someone is blocking outbound signals from inside the station. Kayla stepped closer. From inside? Meaning the attackers are using our own systems? Adrian nodded. Yes, and they're using a coded Dominion encryption. Kayla's breath froze. Dominion encryption? That meant the extremists were from her side, or at least had inside help. A deep ache settled behind her ribs. Her own people, some of them, were trying to sabotage the treaty. Her duty. Her future. Adrian watched her carefully. Princess? Kayla's expression remained calm, but her voice was tight. There are those in the Dominion who believe unity with humans is weakness, Lyra added grimly. They fear losing our traditions. They fear humanity rising. Adrian looked between them. And they came here to stop this before it even begins. Kayla met his eyes. Yes. For a moment, Adrian didn't speak. Then he put a hand on the console, steadying himself. We'll stop them, he said. Kayla studied him, this human who kept showing courage she didn't expect. Together, she said quietly. The moment was brief, but powerful. Adrian reset the console. The command center controls everything. If we can get there, we can override the jammer. Kayla turned toward the exit. Then the command center is our next move. Lyra nodded. Prepare for heavy resistance. As they stepped out of the engineering deck, Kayla walked beside Adrian, not ahead, not behind, but beside him. For the first time since the treaty began, she felt a strange, unfamiliar trust forming. A trust she never expected to feel for a human. And as they entered the dark corridor that would lead them to the command center, one thing became clear. Their survival depended on each other, and so did the future of their two worlds. The corridor leading to the station's command center was narrower and darker than any they had passed before. The hum of emergency lights and distant alarms created a tense rhythm, echoing against the metal walls. Kayla's blade was ready in her hand. Adrian's grip on his improvised baton was firm, but his senses were alert. Lyra remained close, scanning for the slightest hint of danger. Command center is just ahead, Adrian whispered. We can override the system there and send the signal. Kayla nodded. And stop the attackers from controlling the station. But we need a plan for the extremists. They will not give up easily. Adrian glanced at her. We fight our way if we must. Or we trick them. We do whatever it takes. Kayla's lips pressed into a thin line. We are not here to destroy. We are here to survive and expose the truth. They moved carefully through the corridor. Every corner seemed to hide danger, every shadow a threat. Behind them, the muffled sounds of movement suggested the attackers were aware of their path. The air was tense, each second stretching into eternity. Suddenly, the corridor opened into a wide chamber. Lights flickered as several attackers stood blocking the exit. Their red-visored helmets glowed in the dim emergency lights. Kayla's eyes narrowed. So, it begins. Adrian stepped forward. Princess, we hold the line together. Kayla gave a short nod. We move as one. The attackers advanced, weapons raised. Kayla and Lyra moved in perfect synchronization, striking swiftly and efficiently. Adrian followed, his baton clashing against metal armor. Sparks flew, echoing loudly through the chamber. Despite their skill, the attackers kept coming more than they expected. Kayla realized quickly that these were not ordinary mercenaries. They had trained for this moment. Every move was designed to test, distract, and wear down. Adrian's quick thinking made the difference. He kicked a crate down, forcing 2 attackers to stumble. Lyra seized the moment to disable another. Kayla's blade moved like lightning, cutting a path through the group. Within moments, the attackers retreated to regroup, leaving the trio standing in the chamber. Breathing heavily, Kayla lowered her blade slightly. "This is only the beginning," she said. Adrian wiped sweat from his brow. "Then we finish what we started." The command center was massive, filled with consoles, holographic displays, and network interfaces. Wires sparked, and monitors flickered as systems struggled under the sabotage. The room smelled of burnt circuits and hot metal. A large viewport revealed the Helios Ark's outer hull, and the small ships attached evidence of the attackers' earlier boarding. Kayla walked to the main console. "We need to override the system. Send a full broadcast to both empires. Expose the extremists." Adrian moved beside her. "I can do that. But the system is rigged. Someone added multiple encryption layers. It's not just a simple override." Kayla's eyes sharpened. "Then we crack it together. I know Varathi codes. You know human systems. Combining our knowledge, we have a chance." Adrian nodded, impressed by her logic. "All right. Let's do it." For the next tense minutes, they worked side by side. Kayla read the alien encryption sequences, identifying patterns only a Varathi would know. Adrian manipulated the human interface, rerouting power, bypassing fail-safes, and cracking locks. Lyra guarded the room, ready to fight at a moment's notice. Sweat ran down their faces. Fingers moved faster than thought. Sparks flew as systems resisted their intrusion. But finally, the console beeped with success. "Partial access achieved," Adrian said. "Now, for the broadcast," Kayla typed rapidly, her knowledge of Dominion protocols allowing her to prepare a secure message. "We need to show the truth: who attacked, why, and who ordered it. This cannot be hidden." Adrian confirmed the message in human format. "Once it goes out, there's no turning back. Both empires will see the extremists for what they are." Kayla hesitated only for a heartbeat. Duty weighed heavily on her. But then she looked at Adrian, at the human whose courage and determination had matched her own. She nodded. "Do it." Adrian pressed the final command. Lights flashed across the room as the signal launched, overriding the jamming attempts. Monitors showed the message spreading across communication networks in both empires. Within seconds, the truth would be known. The extremists had attacked the station to sabotage the treaty, not the humans or the princess. The sound of approaching footsteps and weapons clanging against metal alerted them. The extremists were coming back, and this time, they were determined to finish what they started. Kayla turned, her blade ready. Adrian raised his baton. Lyra positioned herself between them. The extremists stormed into the command center, more numerous than before. Kayla's voice rang out, commanding and strong. "We will not yield. This station and this treaty will not fall." Adrian fought alongside her, using his baton with precision, defending both himself and the princess. Lyra moved like a shadow, her strikes efficient and deadly. Sparks flew with every clash of metal. The extremists faltered as the trio fought with unmatched coordination. In a critical moment, Kayla spotted the extremist leader, a figure wearing enhanced armor, clearly more dangerous than the rest. She lunged forward, striking the enemy's weapon aside with a sharp blow. Adrian followed, shoving another attacker away from her. Lyra disabled the remaining guards with rapid strikes. Finally, the leader faced Kayla alone. For a moment, it seemed the fight would turn against her. But she held her ground. Her blade moved with unmatched skill, the culmination of years of training and duty. With one precise strike, she disarmed the leader and forced him to surrender. The room fell silent, except for the hum of machines and alarms. Kayla stood tall, her chest heaving, her eyes fierce. Adrian wiped sweat from his face. His baton lowered. Lyra exhaled slowly, finally relaxing. Kayla turned to Adrian. The station is secure. The broadcast is sent. The truth is known. Adrian smiled faintly. We did it. Together. Kayla's eyes softened. Yes. Together. The consequences came quickly. Across the galaxy, the broadcast spread. Governments, military leaders, and civilians of both empires saw the full story. The extremists' actions were exposed. Their plan to sabotage the treaty was revealed. The message emphasized not only the bravery of humans but also the cooperation that had saved the station. The effect was immediate. Diplomats praised both Kayla and Adrian for their courage and quick thinking. Human forces were recognized as capable allies, not inexperienced outsiders. The Varathi Dominion realized that their preconceptions about humanity were wrong. Humans could adapt, survive, and lead with honor in ways no one had expected. Kayla and Adrian received messages of thanks and admiration from leaders on both sides, but more importantly, they had gained something deeper. Mutual respect, trust, and a partnership born in the fires of danger. In the quiet aftermath, Kayla and Adrian stood on the command center's balcony, overlooking the station as repairs began and emergency crews worked tirelessly. Adrian broke the silence. You know, when I first met you, I thought humans would have a hard time earning your respect. Kayla glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. And I thought humans were reckless and soft. But I see now. You are capable of more than I imagined. Adrian chuckled lightly. I could say the same about you. Kayla allowed herself a small smile. Then perhaps our worlds are not so different after all. Adrian nodded. Perhaps. And perhaps our partnership is exactly what both our peoples need. Kayla's gaze drifted toward the stars. We faced danger. Yes. But we also saw the potential of what humans can do. Maybe now, the galaxy will see it too. Adrian looked at her, the weight of the past hours lingering in their shared silence. Yes. Humanity is no longer the new kid on the block. We have a place at the table. Kayla's lips curved in a rare, genuine smile. And perhaps, it is time for the Dominion to embrace that. The story of the Helios Ark attack would be told across the galaxy. It was a story of courage, ingenuity, and unity. A story where humans, often underestimated, proved themselves not through sheer strength, but through quick thinking, adaptability, and the willingness to risk everything for others. A story where Kayla Varathi, proud princess of her empire, discovered that strength comes not from tradition alone, but from trust and cooperation, even with a species she had been taught to doubt. In the aftermath, the treaty was strengthened. The extremists' plot failed. Both empires learned a lesson. The galaxy was changing, and humans were part of that change. Kayla and Adrian became symbols not of political obligation, but of what could happen when courage and honor crossed species lines. Two leaders who, against all odds, had turned a promise into something greater. And as they looked out at the stars, side by side, both knew that their first meeting had truly turned fate upside down. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had risks.